Hi Luke, it's lovely to have you here on the website Copywriter. It's great to catch up again because it's been probably a couple of months since we chatted last, I think. We've known each other for a couple of months. So you're a web designer and your tagline is helping frustrated business owners, which I thought was interesting. So I'd like to find out a bit more about that. And like who you help and what kind of websites you build and where you're from and all those kind of things. So yeah, let us all know.
Yeah, so I'm from central New York in the States, so not New York City, quite a ways from there, but still New York. I started kind of as an engineer, got into engineering, and that kind of slowly shifted to web development and starting my own business as I kind of migrated to that direction. But I love to build websites for businesses. I'm not into the maybe as crazy animations and art, but really helping people tell their story on their website. So building a website that works for their business, which is different for everyone. Some people want websites that are trying to generate leads. Some want to better represent their business. Some are frustrated business owners not being able to update their website, or it's difficult to use, or people have issues finding things. And so I kind of wanted to step in and solve a lot of those problems for businesses, because it seems pretty common that a lot of small and medium-sized businesses want a website and have a website, but either don't know how to use it or are struggling to use it. And there's kind of a lot of problems there. Either it doesn't represent who they are, or they feel like it doesn't kind of stand out from their competition, or it's below their competition, and they feel like that's slowing them down, which it is. And I think it's a good opportunity to elevate your online presence to be as professional as your business. So that's kind of where I like to step in with focusing on copy and solid design to get people what they're looking for from their website.
Yeah, I remember the first time that I looked at your website, your business website, and my first thought was, this web designer knows about copywriting. I noticed that straight away. So yeah, I love your website, and you talk about these frustrations and problems straight away on the homepage, and I really like that. So do you tend to work with people who've already had a website and they've kind of realized it's not working?
Yeah, so that's been my primary, most of the business I worked with up until now are kind of in that spot. Like a couple of them don't really have, the website doesn't work the way they want it to, and users are having trouble finding things that they're looking for, which is the major problem for businesses, and they need to update their website because of that. Or their website, they feel like they're kind of rebranding or doesn't really stand up to par with the rest of the websites in that industry, and they feel like that's slowing them down. So those are kind of the big needs at the moment. I'm not targeting people as much who haven't had a website yet, because sometimes you need to do that yourself and figure out what works and what doesn't. So I'm kind of like position myself in that next step. So you have something, but you want to make it more professional and serve the business goal that you're looking to achieve.
Yeah. So what do you feel is the most important thing to consider? Like clarity, the tech side, the design side? What's kind of your thing that you like to focus on?
Yeah, so what you don't get a lot with web designers is copy focused websites. So I really like to focus on that, because I just think there's too many websites that miss the mark, and they have really great design, and it's almost like an art piece, which is cool and nothing wrong with that. But a lot of businesses want it to serve a specific goal, and maybe it is to look really good. But if you're trying to generate traffic and you're trying to generate revenue with your business, the website needs to do that or act in that way. And so I kind of like to focus on the copy and the storytelling nature of a website. I use this analogy a lot. That's not like a flyer, that you just kind of throw all your stuff up on and you just get as many eyes of people walking past it as you can. Is that the website should guide the user. And nowadays people aren't staying on websites super long. So if it doesn't, keep your attention, or it doesn't answer your problem pretty quickly, it's very easy to hit back and click on the next Google link. You know what I mean? So it's easy to navigate away from that, much easier than it is to get people to stay on. So that's kind of the thing I like to focus on. Is it clear? Does it have I kind of like to think of it as a professional or minimum design standard. There's a bottom threshold. I want to be above that, obviously, but it needs to at least be professional in comparison to what other people in that industry other businesses in the industry have, because your customer's expecting that. And they're looking for something like that holds that standard, or if it doesn't, they're going to someone who does.
Yeah, oh, I think your designs are brilliant. I love your design, and I love the way you do your websites, and the way it flow. They always seem to flow really nicely. Like you can see, you put a lot of effort into that user journey and making things clear and simple, and that's half the battle. Well, it's probably more than half the battle, really, isn't it? Just having things clear, straightforward, easy to navigate. That's the big.
Yeah, I do. I see that a lot, that people want to put a lot of fancy words or clever sayings on the website, and it loses people. People don't kind of resonate with that. And I think finding what that problem is, and finding what internally that causes frustration in your business because of a certain need that you have, the website should solve that. And there's a lot of more, what I think of it as upfront research, the strategy, and figuring out who that customer is, who you're targeting, where you want the website to go, and where you want people to go when they land on the website. Do you want them to, like I kind of mentioned before, maybe it's sign up for a newsletter, maybe you're a content heavy business and you want people to be reading all your content, then the website should gear people towards that. And so the goal and the direction that you want people to go is very different for every website. And so there's a lot of upfront work that needs to get done before you can start building.
So how do you find, so when your customers usually come to you, do you find that they generally have that clarity, or you need to help them with that clarity?
Yes, that's a great question. I think a lot of them do have a decent amount of clarity, but I think we learn a lot. I always do a discovery or strategy process up front that we do, that's a separate paid call before I even give them a website quote, because I think it benefits both of us in the end to have the most clarity on my end to what you need solved, and the most clarity for you to know what you need solved as a business. And so this document kind of walks through a bunch of questions, and it just kind of helps jog their memory again. Maybe they have an idea on their clarity, but they'll go through and answer a lot of these questions, and then we hop on a call for about an hour and we talk about these things. So I just kind of pull things out. Why do you want the website? Where do you want people to go? Why do you want people to go here? Where do you want new business to go? Where do you want people who have already maybe been in touch with your business? Where do you want them to go? And kind of just talking about these things opens up a lot. I think it gives them more clarity, and it gives me the most clarity to properly assess the solution that they need for their business. And that process I've been using for a while now has worked really well. And I think clients like that, even if it's more upfront attention before we even look at the website, just because you want to know the direction you're going before you start going.
Yeah. Do you get clients who've built the website themselves, the first website, and then realized how difficult it actually is once they've been through the process themselves and realized it didn't work out like the way they wanted it to?
Yeah, I think there's kind of this movement going on with these no-code tools, and they're great. I use Webflow to build all my websites in, but they do position themselves in the market as like anyone can build a website. And I don't think that building the website now is the difficult part, because there are so many tools. It's all the other stuff, not just like the technical aspects of building the website, but all the other small details and nuances that you don't necessarily realize until you get started. And maybe like, well, I like all these colors, and we'll put them in the color palette, and you end up with like 6 different primary colors, and it's like, now it looks messy. And that kind of stuff is hard to do. And I think these like templates and these easy, whip up your website in a weekend type thing with these no-code tools, to people who aren't designers or website builders, it kind of have this appearance that it can just be thrown together, and just it's a little unrealistic expectation. So yeah, I've had a couple people where they've done it themselves and they're like, yeah, it's okay, but we want something that looks more professional. We realize, the next step is needed to keep going forward.
People realize that it's the strategy, the planning, the design skills, the copywriting skills, the photography skills. There's like so much that goes in that people don't realize. And I think really it's because, like you say, these companies heavily market towards being really easy to use, and they are really easy tools to use, and that's great. But they don't mention all these other elements that you need, all these, that are just as important.
Yeah, you can do it, you can put in all the great nuances and pictures and different formats for layouts and all that. It's easy to use in that sense, but making those opinionated decisions is the hard thing, right? Like what pictures to put here, what text to put here, what heading to put here. Those things really make a website more than people think. And you can take the same layout and have bad images and bad copy, and then put it with good images and good copy, and it makes all the difference. So it's
Mm.
funny, but yeah, I do see that a lot.
I think like back in the day, like several lots of years ago, I don't know, maybe 10 years ago or something, like web designers were just building websites. But now web designers have to consider a lot more of the strategy side, because it's just this constant competition, where websites are just getting better and better and better and better and more ideal client focused and more strategy led design and things. It's a nice
Yeah.
it's watch the evolution.
Yeah, and it's great. It's a growing industry, and as COVID happened and all that kind of stuff, more people were realizing the importance for an online presence and that they need something online, and that's a good thing. But yeah, I do agree that the strategy portion, I think, is something that does get, I wouldn't say neglected, but there's less attention there, and that's kind of where I think I fit in best. Is that I do have a little bit of my wife also runs her own business and does a lot of marketing, and she has a degree in marketing, so she's taught me a lot in how to approach the marketing side of the website and how important that is. So I kind of come from that angle too, but I also was an engineer, so I had kind of come from the technical side too. So I think I have a unique blend of the two things that give me the ability to provide strategy, but also to accomplish maybe the technical things you're looking to get done on your website as well.
Yeah, I was going to mention your wife actually, because I follow you both on LinkedIn, and I love both of the your content, brilliant. And
Yeah.
yeah, it must be great conversations that you have like around the dinner table and stuff, about marketing and websites, and that's really good.
Yeah. We both work from home, so it's a lot of business talk. We do try to cut it off at some point in the day because we can keep going, and it's nice to talk about other things too. But yeah, it's a lot of fun.
My husband is in sales, so
Mhm.
obviously a copywriter is a salesperson, just coming from a different perspective. So when he comes home from work, we talk about small businesses, B2B marketing,
Mhm.
sales and stuff like that. So it's good, I think.
Yeah, definitely. That's fun.
Yeah. So how long have you been in business for, did you say?
Yeah, so a little over a year full time. So I started doing this while I was working my job as an engineer, and I kind of had a couple of clients here and there, but it was quite small at the time. When I started to have some traction, I quit in August of 2021. So I quit my full-time job then and been doing it full time, yeah, for over a year at this point.
Yeah, so you've done a lot. You've achieved a lot in a year.
Yeah, it's been a good year. I needed the push to being an engineer where I was programming a lot during the day. It was taxing a lot mentally, to come home and do a lot of that. So it was nice to be. Once I took that leap, I kind of knew it was easier for me to go all in just because I had more mental capacity to take on more and learn more and try to figure this out. So it's been good.
Do you find you attract like fairly new business owners just because you're in that kind of space yourself, in that kind of headspace yourself?
Yeah, I definitely think that's kind of been a little bit more the trend. Some of the businesses have been around for a decent amount of time, but I have gotten some newer businesses that kind of just got started in the past couple of years. Again, same scenario, they did something themselves. They realized, yeah, we want something more professional, kind of upgrade from there.
Mhm. So what would your advice be to anybody who was gonna try and build the website themselves, or just starting out and wanting to build the website themselves? Is there any times where you would like see that would be a good move, or do you think they should always try and invest in a web designer?
Yeah, that's a good question. I get that a lot. I think if you're just starting out and your business is fairly new, I think it's okay to grab a Squarespace template or do something just to start. Don't modify it heavily, kind of just fit into the mold so it looks decent. And just so you have something online, because I don't think a lot of businesses are ready to kind of spend the money that it takes to have it professionally done. And also maybe their market isn't as tested. they're newer business, they don't have a lot of clients, and they're still kind of figuring out the business. And if you're still trying to figure out the business and do the website, it can kind of get messy because now you're changing things. You're like, well, I'm not sure who my target is. I'm not sure what my clients' problems are. I've only had a couple. And so I think it can get difficult at that point. I think it's okay to start yourself. I think focus on speaking to the clients that you do have and figuring out what their problems are and kind of putting that in the copy and focusing on that. You know, a business is really you solving someone's problem and at the end of the day. And I think that's kind of where you should start if you're building a website, and make it small. It doesn't need to be complicated. And I think get started that way, and then start collecting all the information that you get from your clients. You know, what are their pain points? Is what we thought accurate? If not, what are they, and how do they want those solved? And what are they willing to spend to have those solved? And what kind of offers do you have? And as you start to formulate those things, you know, maybe it takes a year or two, then it's time, I think, to upgrade to something that can now you can invest in, and now you have a little more information to build the right website. It's not a good idea to go all in from the beginnings. I just think you don't have all the pieces that you need, especially as a new business, to build the right website, because you know you can have a great website but not a great business model, and that's going to be difficult regardless. So I do think there's a balance.
Answering people's questions, answering customers' questions is so powerful. Our mutual client has, you'll know this, has a YouTube answering people and a blog answering people's questions, and I think that's such a powerful thing, such a powerful thing. I need to do more of that. I think I do that a bit, but I think I need to do more of that.
Yeah, and another reason why I like to do the discovery calls too with people is that we dive into a lot of that stuff. So it kind of pulls out a lot of people's, you know, people start to come through maybe conversations they've had with clients or emails, and they start to think about, oh, what problems do my clients, are they really struggling with? Do they really have a problem with? Sometimes it's different than you initially think.
Yeah, and you can get really specific. The more you speak to your clients, customers about this, the more specific you can get in the copy, which is always going to be a good thing.
Yeah, definitely. And that's kind of the thing too. Being targeting who you're speaking to is so important. You know, people want to feel like they're being talked to on the website, not they're being talked to with hundreds of other people, even though in theory you are, but that language should be very focused. I think that's something that gets missed too. But
yeah, and using the language in your voice of customer in testimonials is really powerful on your website as well. So, you know, actually reading your testimonials and what people say about you, and then using that again on your website is a super powerful thing.
yeah, repurposing that customer language, you know, guarantees you're getting exactly what they're looking for because they told you. You're not making that up. So yeah, it's always valuable information.
So what industries do you tend to like working with?
So it's kind of been, I kind of had this approach going into this year, as it was my first full year, that I was going to kind of take on a lot of different work and see what sticks and what doesn't and what I resonated with. So it's been a lot of different industries. I've worked with like a venture capitalist, a small venture capitalist fund in Canada. I've done like a church and a school. And then I've also done like like a paid social ads website. And so kind of a lot of different things. Nothing's really set in stone at this point. But I'm kind of more looking for people at that stage right now instead of the industry specific. Not that might change down the road, but as of right now, it's that first website kind of, how can we get something more professional that suits our needs, that serves a better goal? That's kind of where I'm sitting with most of my clients.
Yeah, no, I think that a lot of web designers want to work with lots of different types of businesses because it's interesting, isn't it? It keeps things varied, and I'm like that as well. Like, I love working with a lot of different types of businesses, organizations, charities, all sorts. But it's like you say, it's that stage they're at. It's that stage where they've had an experience with a website. It wasn't the greatest and they want to invest in something better. That's really powerful, and helping people to find out what makes them unique and creating a really solid message. It's really fun work, I think. listening to
Yeah,
people.
yeah, and it definitely takes some time. I think people think they know what makes them unique and what makes them stand out, and then sometimes as they talk about it, they realize it might be different, or so those conversations are fun. Yeah, I enjoy the same thing. I like having those calls with people because I learn about a lot of new businesses. I learn a lot about a lot of different industries and how people are trying to position themselves. And I feel like that's kind of the fun role for me. I kind of always thought I didn't want to do just very technical. And while I do take on some just builds where I'll do a Webflow build and they have a design, I prefer to do more of the full thing. Just because I enjoy that. I like having more control over the whole process. And I think it's more interesting to be able to talk to these businesses and really help them and figure out what they need on a customer to customer basis.
Oh, I think web designers, copywriters, branding experts, designers all have this brilliant job where they get to really understand other people's businesses.
Yeah.
It's like that business to business. It's just so rewarding, I think, having all these conversations. Like the amount of conversations I've had with people, I wouldn't begin to remember every single one. But it's all in my brain.
Yeah.
Like I'm
Yeah.
good at general knowledge somehow, which I never used to be, but it's just because I speak to so many different people, and you have to, like, as a web designer as well, or any kind of creative person, you have to really get to know somebody to be able to deliver that creation, that artwork, whatever you want to.
Yeah. Yeah. And it comes to like asking the right questions too. How can you help people dive deeper onto what they think and how they feel about their business? Because that's all useful information to be used in the website and all of their marketing. And I like to think of the website as that too. And it's not just a standalone thing. It's kind of part of that marketing puzzle. And it has to be positioned that way and used in that way to be effective. It's not just a one-time thing that sits there and people just come to. How are you driving traffic to it? Where are you driving traffic off of it? Is it to calls and things like that. So again, yeah, asking those right questions, like where do you want people to go? Where do you want new business to go? Where do you want old business to come and click on and go through? So yeah, it's asking a lot of those questions is really provides interesting results, I think.
Yeah. So where when you look at the analytics on your own site, where do people tend to come from?
Yeah, so it's been primarily LinkedIn at this point. Most of my new leads are coming from there. I've been writing pretty consistently on there since middle of February. I was writing on Twitter for a while. I had a little bit more of a web development freelancer audience over there. And when I started LinkedIn, the goal was to not get that audience because I wanted more businesses. But it's easy to talk about the thing you're most comfortable with. So I kind of attracted that audience over there, but LinkedIn, I focused more on like how businesses can use websites to help them and tried to build that audience over there a little bit more. So not freelancers and not web developers. And that's been really beneficial for me. I've been writing on there, yes, since February, just about every day, every weekday. And it's been good. A lot of my clients are coming from there and saying they found me from LinkedIn and they found my content from LinkedIn. They really liked it and resonated with it, which is really good for me because then I don't have to hard sell on me because they already know my process. They already know what I like to focus on. They already know what's important to me in terms of a web designer for their business. And so that content not only acts as like a lead generator for me, but also kind of that intro step of people meeting me through my content, which has been really good because now people understand, oh, this is how Luke likes to approach a website. Maybe it's different than this person. And I get more qualified leads too. They come to me knowing, oh, this is what he's going to do, not this high expectation of something else that he's not going to do. So it's been really useful in both those ways.
Yeah, that's exactly the same as my business. Most of my traffic, a huge proportion, I can't remember exactly, but the pie chart that I was sent had a huge amount of LinkedIn traffic. But I generally get inquiries in my LinkedIn inbox. But I know after speaking to those leads and inquiries, people always say, oh, I looked at your website, I love your website. But then they came back to LinkedIn to message me because I think social media's got that there's that personal feel, you're going to get a response probably more quickly, you know who you're speaking to. And so I think that it's like people don't always realize that people are going from social media, checking out the website, and then coming back. So if you don't have a really good website, then you could be losing so many inquiries that you never knew about, because all these people are going, if they look at your website and think, oh, that's not that good, and then they're never going to reach out. So I think, yeah, there's more around having a good website than just looking at how many actual people are filling out the contact form. Definitely.
Yeah, I agree. I don't get that many filling out my contact form just for that reason. I think that's what happens. A lot of people look at the website and then come back to social media, which is something I talk about a lot too when I work with some of my clients, is that, just because, it's easy to not see the lost opportunities when people visit your website and click off. Yeah, you can check bounce rate and things like that. But it's hard to tell sometimes how many people were that interested, but were turned off by your website and left. And so there's a lot of opportunity to make sure if you have good social media and you have good content, you're driving people to the site. That's the website. You don't want to lose people there. That's a terrible spot. You've done all that work to get them there. Now you lose them there and they never come back. That's a hard thing to kind of miss, but it's something you don't see as often as you would, talking to a client one-on-one and they say they don't want to work with you, or
Yeah,
networking at an event. It's an easy thing to not see, I think.
I always say it seals the deal. So, somebody's following you on social media, for example, like LinkedIn, they're following you, they're soaking up the message that you're sharing, all your content over time, and builds this story. And then they go to the website to check that they're correct in thinking who you are and what you stand for. And yeah, it kind of like seals the deal for people. So there's definitely so much more to websites than SEO. Like a lot of small business owners will come to me and talk about SEO, and I'm like, do you really need SEO? Is that really what you really need? And you need, like, I'm not that I'm saying that isn't important, but it's not just a tick a box, yes, we have to have SEO kind of thing. It's so much more complicated than that.
Yeah, I definitely think that's true. I think and it's funny, the content things worked in a really nice way as well, because I've had people that not necessarily engage with any of my content and will reach out and say, yeah, I love your content on LinkedIn. So, there's a lot of people that are looking at it that way too. And so, yeah, having a good funnel that goes to your website and that it serves that purpose, well, I think that's invaluable for your business. Definitely.
Most people, the most inquiries that I get, I don't know who they are. They've never commented or liked my content, and they always start off saying, oh, I've been following you for a while, I really love your content. And I'm like, that's good to know. I don't know you at all, but it's really nice that it's doing the job it's supposed to.
Yeah, and that's that kind of benefit too, is as you create more content, as you keep doing it, sometimes you'll get people who are following you from months ago, and that kind of builds on over time. And I know some people that tell me they've been doing it for years, and they'll get people who reached out from like oh, I'm following your stuff from like a year ago. And so you never know how long sometimes people are hanging around, and that website is that final step. And so if you can set that up properly, I think that's really important.
I've been sharing the same message since early 2019 on LinkedIn, and I do get people who say they've been following us that long, and
Wow.
it's the first time they've reached out, because so obviously my ideal client is a web designer, and that's who I speak to, and sometimes that web designer just isn't in a place where when they see the content, but they're not quite ready yet, they're not quite there yet with their business. So it's taken them like maybe a year, 2 years, 3 years to get to that position where a copywriter would fit into the business. So it's nice, but it's nice when you get messages like that, and it just shows that it does work, and it's consistency, isn't it? And just keeping on at it.
Yeah, I think that's a good point too, is that not everyone's ready at the time you're writing it. And so repurposing that content and keep talking about the same things, which is something I struggled with when I started writing on LinkedIn as well, is the idea that, yeah, it's okay to keep talking about the same topics, because not everyone's, going to see it at the same time, or people need to hear it multiple times. And looking at some of my analytics for LinkedIn, I've noticed that too. That as I'll click on some old links that perform well from months ago, and I'll look at the people that commented and they don't comment on any of my stuff now. And so I realized that it's probably a whole new audience now if I reshare that and tweak it, that is going to see that. So it's good to kind of keep driving home the same message. I think there's a benefit of that over sharing too many messages and trying to say too many things just because you feel like you need to reinvent the wheel, and kind of having a message all over the place. I've had some of my clients say to me that they like my content because it's very focused. I'm talking about websites and that's the same thing. And I feel like I'm repeating the same message over and over again, but to them, it feels like, yeah, he's hitting home the message that we're interested in.
Yeah, because you have to be known for your thing. And repeating the same message is really important. Sometimes when you don't know your own message in the early days, you use LinkedIn. I've certainly used LinkedIn in 2019 to create the message, because I was saying all these ideas. I was literally using it for research. I was just sharing my ideas and getting feedback from my audience to find out which way to go with the message. So it kind of, at the beginning in 2019, it was much more broad, but then over the years, it's got tighter and tighter and tighter. So I think that's perfectly normal. So if anybody's listening that feels like they're not quite there with knowing what the message is, just use social media to create a message by asking questions, asking your ideal client or asking who you think might be your ideal client questions all the time, and getting that feedback. And then it's like a snowball. You just get better and better at sharing the message, and your opinions change and get more focused.
Yeah, that's a really good point. That takes time sometimes to develop that, but you got to kind of start pushing in that direction to get it going. I mean, I also think too, is I've used LinkedIn a lot to see what other people in the field as my ideal clients are, like what they're talking about and what they're posting about and engaging with their stuff. And that's been really good too, because it's another way to see what their problems are and what they're struggling with, kind of as they post about it in real time. And so that's a great spot to be in too.
Yeah.
I think that's a good idea.
Yeah, definitely. Well, that was a super conversation there. Really, really nice to chat to you, Luke. Thank you very much for having a chat and stuff. Was there anything else that you wanted to add? What I'll do is I will add your links, your website and your LinkedIn, and anything else that you want me to add underneath this video. But was there anything else that you wanted to share before I stop recording?
No, I think that's all. Thank you for having me. I really appreciate it. It's been a great chance to chat about this.
Cool. Right. Anybody who's watching, remember to subscribe, and I'll see you next time. Bye. Bye.